So as y'all know, Zach Bryan's American Heartbreak is out and everyone loves it. It's astonishing just how much this album is being embraced. It isn't just an underground sleeper people don't know much about, but it's being consumed by the masses and people are eating every single song up. Leading the way not so much for a country sonic revival, but a country substance revival, which is something I've been wanting for years. You cannot believe how much of an emphasis this channel has been on telling compelling stories over having a more country sound. And this record and its success truly delivers on that front. Zach Bryan is a key player in this age of country, and the amount of success and praise he's been getting despite minor media help is insanely impressive. To the point where it's not unreasonable for him to be nominated for Album of the Year, not just by the Grammys, but the CMAs as well. If you told me 5 years ago that an indie viral star would attain this much momentum and success, I would not have believed you, and yet, here we are. But like you assumed, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about what's far and away the song on this monumental album that has been stuck in my mind day in and day out. The one I've been thinking about the most and the several meanings it can convey, and just how conscious and well tied together it seems and writing actually is. And that song, of course, is If She Wants a Cowboy. Yeah. Initially, I wrote this song off as nothing but a side joke, a bite of levity in a massive meal of tragedy. And I'm not here saying this is the best song on the album. It's certainly not as good as 68 Fastback or Cold Damn Vampires. Those songs have way more meaning to them and are far more emotionally impactful. But despite my admiration for those masterpieces, the amount of depth, while large, wasn't really as layered as to the amount of layers present in If She Wants a Cowboy, because the more and more I think about it, this might actually be the best country criticism song ever made. It sounds crazy on paper, but hopefully I'll at least get you to understand my thesis here. So country criticism or satire songs have been a thing for a while now. They're mostly done in order to call out the industry in some shape or form, mainly in the direction it seems to be going in. There's iconic ones like Are You Sure Hank Would Have Done It This Way or Murder on Music Row, and there's been some modern ones like Dispatch to 16th Ave, Call Me Country, and arguably the crown jewel of them all, Bo Burnham's Pandering. I always considered Bo's song the best, mainly because it sets a quiet part out loud in arguably the darkest age in country's entire history, and really opened the way for a lot more criticism and discussion of the genre's integrity to move forward. It's easily the most impactful of all of them. And yet, despite how goofy and frankly excellent that song is, even as a Bo Burnham stan, I consider If She Wants a Cowboy even better. Pandering, while excellent, does have a few things holding it back. For one, it's an exterior perspective with a tiny bit of out-of-touch viewing. When you make fun of something you're not totally in the know about, it does add a bit of disbelief in what you're talking about. What is there is still absolutely substantive and hilarious, but lacks that bit of accurate satire to what the industry is actually like. Like the Scarecrow line. It's hilarious, of course, but it's a joke that doesn't have much to do with country other than scarecrows are found in rural areas. Meanwhile, with If She Wants a Cowboy, it's a joke that just works on so many levels to various degrees. For one, the surface level analysis of the story. It's about a guy trying to change himself up for the girl he likes, but uh-oh, she ain't into that stuff anymore. Time to switch it up again. That on its own is mildly funny and pretty relatable when you have a crush, forcing yourself to change into something you think she wants because the current you isn't good enough. It's a tale as old as time. From an exterior perspective of the song, and for someone who has no idea about the inner workings or the world of country today, it still works in that particular aspect, but then you start adding context to it. For someone who knows how messed up the Nashville industry actually is, this story works on an even better level, because what it's actually talking about is how artists are forced to change up their entire identity just to land a record deal or gain fame. The girl in this story is essentially a major label executive or a promise of fame and stardom, and the whole story of becoming a cowboy and doing other cowboy shenanigans is the artist forcing themselves to fit into whatever the Nashville sound is, whether they like it or not. To put it into perspective, look at Chris Lane for example. You go back to the music the man was putting out in the middle of the 2010s, it was semi-country material with a decent sound to it, and once he signed to the Big Loud label, he made the absolutely horrifying pop nightmare that was Girl Problems, an album that had no prior foreshadowing to what it would become and basically took all the integrity and respect the man had. The machine looks enticing, but what it makes you do in order to win it over just isn't worth sacrificing what makes you who you are as an artist and person. And sometimes, even if you do manage to change everything about who you really are, it oftentimes isn't worth it because the girl or the industry will eventually chase after something new. In the song, it's Nashville, or essentially pop/boyfriend country. And when you think about it, that's actually what happened in the middle of the 2010s between 2015 and 2017. The Nashville sound shifted. Bro country was out and sappy pop was in. And when you think about it, how many artists, despite how bad their music was, essentially lost their careers just because the machine decided to go after something new? It's like Zach says in the song, what the hell was all this worth? For a lot of artists, essentially nothing. They conned you out of your dreams and turned you into a puppet to be cast aside. And while some were able to adapt to the new sound like Jason Aldean and Florida Georgia Line, so many artists throughout the 2010s were left to be forgotten. Some deserved it more than others, but still, it was messed up how the industry just shuns them and left them for dead. Not only does the joke have an insane amount of depth and context to it, while also being presented in a hilarious story you'd think would have nothing to do with the state of the country music industry, but it also works as a bit of a self-roast as well, because Zach wasn't exactly an authentic cowboy himself, so it's also him making fun of who he is or what people try to portray him to be. It's always nice when an artist is able to make fun of themselves in a healthy manner. Now, of course, all of this would fall apart if the song itself wasn't that interesting from a sonic standpoint, as it kinda was with the Muscadine Bloodline song. But the song sounds absolutely fantastic. It's incredibly steel-driven and is a bit onomatopoetic. Really homes into that red dirt sound, which was a bit foreign for Zach in the context of the whole record. Also, I'm sorry, but if the funny auto-tune cowboy can't make you laugh, then I'm afraid these songs are way too smart for you. It pretty blatantly serves as the shift into pop country, showing the almost plastic-like and fake nature there is in Nashville, and it's thematically appropriate. Not to mention, it fits Zach's voice not too shabby. Especially compared to the abortions I've heard from actually bad artists this year. So yeah, If She Wants a Cowboy is simply genius. It's so well in the know in how the Nashville machine operates, tells an original story separate from the commentary that's funny on its own, and yet perfectly blends in what the message of the song truly is. And at the end of the day, is arguably the most conscious song on the album and arguably the most layered song Zach has ever done. I take it back, Cold Damn Vampires is slightly more conscious, but I digress. It's hilarious, incredibly informative, and all the more powerful. And I'm so glad it exists. Not the best, but certainly the song I revisit the most, because I can't take much of 68 Fastback, it hurts me so much. For a long time, I considered Pandering to be peak country music satire, but it took a boy from Oklahoma prancing around to be a cowboy, showing the faults of the industry, to top it.